Hey guys, today's video is going to be about my top 3 challenges to homeschooling overseas. Hey guys, I'm Stacey and my channel here is all about being a wife and a mom to 4 boys, living overseas, and I really enjoy talking about all things homeschooling. So today I am participating in a collab with a bunch of other awesome homeschool moms. I will link the playlist down below in the description box. And the host of this video is Rachel from 7 and All, and she has gotten to be my friend here on YouTube. She also lives overseas, and so I will link her channel down below in the description box. So all of us homeschool ladies are going to be talking about different homeschool challenges that we face. And my specific homeschool challenge I'm going to be talking about is my top 3 challenges to homeschooling overseas. So I recently did a video talking all about homeschooling overseas, and I'll have that link down below in the description box, and that one I go into a lot more detail. And this one I'm going to talk about a little bit different angle of it and just talk about my 3 top challenges to homeschooling overseas. And this coming Friday I'm going to be uploading a video kind of giving a life update and also a giveaway. So be sure to check back in for that. Okay, so this video I'm going to have divided into 3 challenges, and the first challenge I face with homeschooling overseas is supplies. And so this challenge kind of has 3 sections to it, and the top section is like getting your curriculum overseas, next one is getting your books overseas, like reading books, and then the third one is getting like craft supplies or unit study supplements or science experiment supplements, getting those, getting access to those overseas. Okay, so the first one, getting curriculum overseas. And in this one here, I go into a lot more detail. In the other video I talked about, I'll have linked down below. Any homeschool mom who homeschools overseas that knows it can be a challenge because you gotta physically pack it in your suitcase. And when you fly, your suitcase can only weigh X amount, and so you have to really be careful with that because books get heavy fast. And so one really great thing with the day and age we live in is you're able to get a lot of curriculum now by PDF and download it and print yourself, or there's even curriculum that is totally online, and so you have options. For me and for my boys, I don't like for them to be online all day every day because they're still really little, and so I was able to get curriculum this year from the Good Beautiful. We got their PDFs and we're able to download and print them out, and I am really happy with it so far. We started school already with them because we are going to be taking a break this fall. And then of course there's always the option of unschooling or just learning from real life. And definitely with living overseas, like you have lots of real life adventures and stuff like that, but for me, I just wanted to have something that gave me as the parent, as the teacher, a little more guidance to make sure I could teach them how to read, and because I feel like I'm not extremely confident in that. Okay, and kind of the second part is getting like books, actual physical books to read. And so when your kids are a little bit older, I think this is easier. My idea is anyway that I'll get like a Kindle or something like that. They can read chapter books from that. But my boys aren't quite there yet because they're just learning how to read. They're 6. They're still beginning stages. So for us, one thing that's worked really well is the readers that come with our curriculum that I talked about earlier. And then they also have leveled readers from the Good and Beautiful library, like box set A, B, C, and D, I think there is. And we got those also by PDF, so I'm able to download those and print those too, which works really good. And then something else that we did back before COVID was there is a library here at an international school, so the library is mostly in English, and so we were able to pay like a membership fee and then use it just during the school year. But right now that's all closed because of COVID. The school isn't operating, which kind of stinks. I do have a collection on my bookshelf of kids books that it's taken me a while. We've lived here in Cambodia like 6 years now, and when we first moved here I had 1 or 2 books that we originally brought in our suitcase, so I didn't bring very many. But over the years I've been able to collect some. Sometimes our church, they've done really well in sending us boxes, and sometimes if I ask what we want, I'll say picture books, because usually picture books are thin and not too heavy, and it's really fun to have a new book to read to the boys. I really like to have an actual physical book, especially for young kids, so they can like turn the pages and interact with the book. Okay, and then kind of the last part of supplies is craft supplies, or like unit study supplies or science experiment supplies. Some of that stuff you can find in country, depending on what country you live in, but it might be in more of a raw form than what you're originally looking for. But that's okay, you just have to try to learn to be more creative, more resourceful. So one phrase that I really like to use when it comes to craft supplies or unit study supplies is to learn to have enough, but also to not have too much. So for example, when we go back to the States, I usually have to buy enough supplies to last for the next 2 years of homeschool or just living overseas. And I can find some craft supplies here in country, but a lot of them are like off-brand, knockoff copycats of name brand stuff, and so they tend to not last as well, not work as long, or break easily. And when you have young kids using them and using them like all the time, that just doesn't work very well. I got some window markers that were like a knockoff brand, and they just didn't work very well. basically turn to liquid in the heat that we have here. And when we originally moved here, it was really hard to find construction paper. You couldn't find it. Now it's easier to find. You can find it. I've gotten like Velcro here that I wanted to do little activities with my 2-year-old with, and the Velcro didn't stick. Yeah, and just a couple other things like that ended up just not working. And so I tried to get stock up on better quality supplies. School supplies were back in the States, but in a pinch I can use off-brand ones. But then on the flip side of that, we have like open air markets and real life living. They're getting all kinds of really cultural experiences, which is really good for them. And along with craft supplies, you just learn to use what is available to you. So this is an activity I just made for my 2-year-old. I just found some stickers recently, and I just got a piece of paper and drew boxes on it, and he has to put one sticker inside of each box. And it's an activity for him to do when I'm doing school with my first graders, so it just gives him something to do that he enjoys, and it's good fine motor skill for him. So living overseas is great for helping you to learn to be creative and just using resources you have. All right, so back to what I was originally saying. When we go to the States, I try to like get school supplies and get supplies and stuff like that, and I want to have enough to be able to have like a good quality education for my kids, but also not too much, because when you get too much, then it feels excessive and overwhelming, and it just clutters everything, plus you're wasting money. Okay, so that's kind of the first challenge of homeschooling overseas. Just getting your supplies, all the things you need. My second challenge of homeschooling overseas is flexibility. And so I think even if you're not homeschooling, just simply living overseas, living outside of your passport country, you learn to roll with the punches, to be more flexible. Things just pop up. You're sitting down as a family for a meal and someone calls, a neighbor walks in, something's happened and they need help getting maybe to the doctor or something like that. And then along with that, things tend to break easily here, like the quality of it, and then also originally it maybe wasn't done correctly, and so then when you go to fix one thing, you end up fixing like 10 things in order to fix the one thing. And it just ends up being like this big huge thing instead of just this little thing that you thought it was going to be. And so that you want to be flexible with that. It might take all day to like just fix what you thought originally was going to take 5 minutes. We've had that happen. And then along with flexibility, we tend to get sick pretty often here, especially like stomach bugs, stuff like that. And then another fun part of flexibility has been about every 6 months or so, our team and our like NGO, our non-government organization here that we're with, has had like major changes. And that can be a good thing, can be new and exciting and something always to look forward to. We always joke around that if you don't like how things are right now, wait 6 months and it'll all change. And so that can be like team members, new team members coming, or old team members leaving, or maybe the schedule with how we're teaching English at our center to the kids, maybe that could end up getting changed. And then especially like with the whole COVID thing, that's throwing everything up in the air also. Yeah, you have to learn to be flexible, and that can be a pro and a con. It can be a con because you're disappointed because it didn't work out how you thought it was going to, but then it also can be a pro because usually there's something new and exciting to look forward to, roughly every 6 months. So you learn to be very flexible, and then your kids also learn to just roll with the punches too. All right, and then my third challenge with homeschooling overseas is learning a second language. So this can apply to me as the teacher, as the mom, and then also for my kids. So me and my husband went to language school when we first moved here. We went for about the first 1.5 years, and that was really, really good. Our kids were still little yet, so they didn't, I didn't have to worry about their schooling and stuff. We had a nanny that came and watched them from the States, and I could trust her. And then she was a friend, she became a really good friend of mine. So Khmer is what the local language is called, and my boys know some Khmer, but I want them to get more fluent in it. So I hired one of my friends to come, and she's like gonna tutor them. It's just 1 hour, 1 day a week, so it's not too intense. And I think they're currently just learning how to count and like greetings and saying like please and thank you, and playing a couple little games, stuff like that, simple commands. And for the most part, they like it. It is a little bit hard and challenging for them. And one day my one son didn't want to do it, but I think that day then they played a bunch of games, and so then after that he really was like looking forward to it again. I really want my kids to be able to become fluent in Khmer, so that way they can better play with the neighbor kids. They can play with the neighbor kids, they just kind of like make up games and play and figure it out currently. However, my boys aren't learning as much as Khmer as I wish they would be, so I want to try to put a little bit more effort into that. So that's definitely can be a challenge in homeschooling overseas, trying to get your kids to learn the second language. When we were getting ready to move overseas, everyone told me, they're like, oh, your kids are going to pick up the second language so easily, it's going to be so easy for them, kids pick up languages so quick. And then we moved here and it didn't work out that way. It didn't work out as simply as I had hoped. And that's okay. We're just trying to learn to be flexible and roll with the punches and working it out this way. I have a friend who lives overseas in a different country, and she told me that her child did not want to learn the second language until he showed no interest until he was about 8 years old, and then he like wanted to learn it. He put in a little effort, and then he was able to pick it up pretty quick. I don't think she would necessarily say he's fluent, but that he is able to get around. So yeah, at this point my boys, to be honest, they don't have much interest in learning the second language, and so it's a challenge to know how much to push them and how much just to sit back and wait and hope that in a couple of years they'll have an interest to learn it. I don't want it to be a battle. I don't want them to like hate it. I don't want it to be tears. And so if it gets to that, we'll just quit. And so for now, they seem to be enjoying it, with it just being 1 hour, 1 day a week. And they especially enjoy it when she plays games with them and just like looks at books and points at different things and says with the art Khmer. It's non-threatening for them. All right, so those are my top 3 challenges to homeschooling overseas. I hope you enjoyed listening to this, and hopefully it's encouraging to you if you are homeschooling overseas, and even if you're not, perhaps you found it interesting. Please click on that thumbs up button. Oh, and on this coming Friday, I'm going to be uploading a video kind of giving a life update and also a giveaway. So be sure to check back in for that. All right, thanks so much for watching. Bye.